Well, on Daily Business Edition, and Marcin Roszkowski of Jagiellonian Institute is our guest. Sir, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
New government in Poland, as you probably noticed, and will they continue the projects started in past term? That's first question. And second, how they will deliver the promises to maneuver over the dangerous things that are waiting for the Polish society. For example, our demography is dwindling slowly but surely. Poland is in this middle income trap, as we call it. That means the labor-intensive jobs are providing most of the income, most of the GDP, how to switch the whole country to the highest profitable jobs.
The first four years of Law and Justice government, they were concentrating on social and demographic programs, as you mentioned. I hope that some of the programs will be continued, but generally the turn to economy will be greater. There is a slowdown in European and world economy. You can see it also in Poland, but generally the GDP figures are pretty good comparing to what's happening in EU zone or others. But generally, the slowdown is there. We can see it in the change of the government structure. The Ministry of Energy will no longer be there. It will be modified to Ministry of Climate. Also, it's something that is important due to the negotiations that will be happening or are happening and will be happening in next month, concentrating next European budget. So the climate and energy issues are one thing. The other thing is that the structure has been, let's say, modified, and kind of a ministry managing all the governmental assets, state-controlled companies and others will be introduced. It's not a new or old approach. It's a different approach because the Ministerstwo Skarbu, the Treasury Department, as we knew it for almost 25 years, actually was aimed at selling the assets owned by the state. Now, no assets are being sold, so generally it will be just management of the assets and coordination of the assets, especially in the energy sector when the four major utilities are generally struggling with what is happening in the energy and climate policy.
You obviously mean the emission prices that skyrocketed last year and are going, there is only north direction they are going to.
They are the CO2 emissions. As you know, the Polish energy sector is heavily coal-oriented. Lignite and hard coal are actually now the problem of the sector. And we are in the process of energy transformation, let's say. And energy transformation requires, first of all, a strategy and also funding. So generally to have it in one hand and to present the strategies that will not hurt the economy, Polish economy, but also will not hurt the utilities is important.
The higher end of jobs in Poland available. We will have the foreign banks that are moving to Poland. Some of the planned investments, for example, in UK, is finally landing in Poland, like Toyota hybrid plant, but this is manufacturing jobs. Do we have a chance to switch our economy from this low-end manufacturing jobs to this high-end, profit?
There's also the promise from the previous government, old-new government, that the minimum wage will be increased by 45% in 3 years. So generally, Poland is switching to from the lower-paying jobs to the high-end paying jobs. It's especially easier that Polish workers are pretty well educated, and there is no problem of qualified workforce.
Can you do it this way, just by ordering administrative measures that the payment, that the wages should be no lower than 1,000
This
euro?
is a tricky question. We'll see, because the approaches are there are two approaches that will fail or it will succeed. But generally, we'll see whether this experiment will work. A Polish minimal wage is the lowest in European Union, one of the lowest. So generally, there is a space for improvement. We'll see whether it will hurt some of the sectors. Probably it will hurt the sector that when the sectors when the productivity is not rising alongside with the remuneration for the work. But generally, most of the economies are already over these minimal wages. It's 6 or 7% of the total working force in Poland. So we'll see whether it will hurt the economy or create new opportunities.
Some analysts say that the announcement of this minimal wage increase created the problems for Law and Justice during the election. Do you agree with that?
I think Law and Justice could have promised less in the social and demographic programs, like 1/3 less. The result will be more or less the same. But generally, introducing the minimal wage and other policies during the election campaign, the previous election campaign, generally made some of the entrepreneurs worry, and they turned to Konfederacja or Koalicja Polska, the other parties. But generally, as Germans say, Mehrheit is Mehrheit, so the majority for Law and Justice is there. So, but it could have been better. The result.
It could have been better. The 4 more years of Law and Justice government in front of us, and we will see how they will do in terms of politics, foreign, internal, and the business. Obviously, Marcin Roszkowski will be definitely here to comment on the development. That was it for tonight's Poland Daily Business.